Ghosts, ghouls, specters, poltergeists, spirits. Many names have been given to the presence that can be seen or felt or smelled. But is it real? Or do we just enjoy scaring ourselves?
Join us, Amelia
and Beth,
two cousins trying to figure out history's bumps in the night. Is there residual energy, ghosts, time loops, angels?
We're not going to do any demons, though.
We're here to hear all your best ghost stories in the region and look back at some of the area's favorite legends. So join us and our EMF readers as we try to decipher possible EVPs and talk to some experts in the paranormal realm.
You can find us on Insta or Twitter at Ghost Hunting in New England or email us ghosthuntinginnewengland@gmail.com.
Don't forget to click subscribe and get ready for your new favorite spooky podcast.
Welcome to Ghost Hunting in New England.
Bye. That was not a great first clip to play.
All you have to do is slightly walk me down the path into donuts and I'm off and running. Oh, good. You can summarize it for me in the car on the way home.
Yes.
Spooky donuts.
I don't know about those fingernails. Okay, and welcome back to this week's episode of Ghost Hunting in New England with Amelia
and Beth.
And this time we're going to go over our first ghost hunt that we did for this podcast. And if you are listening right now in the New England region, or even if you're listening all over the country, because this one made national news, then you probably know about the Market Basket in Willmington, Massachusetts. This is kind of a silly one, but we had fun doing it.
Oh, definitely.
You know, it's interesting because so many places are haunted, especially in the northeast part of America, that they don't get on the news that often. And this got on the news quite a bit. So Beth is going to go and kind of take us through a little of that right now.
So the Market Basket, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, it's a supermarket, just like the Piggly Wiggly or, sorry, I love the Piggly Wiggly.
What is the Piggly Wiggly?
The Piggly Wiggly, I think they're a southern supermarket chain, like Stop and Shop or A&P or Safeway. It's just fun
I gotta
to say
travel more. I haven't heard most of those.
The Piggly Wiggly. But the Market Basket they're a family-owned supermarket chain. They were actually on the news a couple of years ago as well, because the two Arthurs were fighting over control of the company, and the employees were coming out and saying, this Arthur is my CEO, and other people were saying that Arthur. It was all very confusing. I don't know how that all turned out, but they're still open. So
it turned out well for the employees. The one who had the best employee, because that was the big thing, is one person wanted to make it super corporate and the other wanted to kind of keep it how it is, and the one who wanted to keep it how it is, he got it. Market Basket is known for very good prices. And that's what it's known for around here, right?
I don't know that I've ever been in one other than the one time we went for the ghost hunt. I've
been in a couple actually. So, and they have great deals. If you find yourself here in Somerville, Massachusetts, where we record in the Somerville Media Center, there's a Market Basket up the street, and that one is known for
being in Somerville.
The spice of life of mothers screaming at their children and people getting in arguments in the parking lot, and it's a hectic place, but it's a show.
Okay. Any ghosts at the Somerville Market Basket?
No.
So at the Willmington Market Basket, though, they had a report of a ghost, and it showed up all over the news. And I went and just with a quick Google search, I found articles on NBC, Today.com, WBZ, CBS Local, and the Boston Globe all did long, in-depth articles about the Market Basket ghost sighting. And so the basic story behind it is that this woman working at the bakery looked down aisle 17, which has all the frozen food in it, and she saw standing there in the aisle this elderly-looking woman in Victorian-era clothes. And she said that she was looking at the frozen peas, and she looked at them for long enough until she just wasn't looking at them anymore because she disappeared. And so the woman at the bakery who works there had put it out on her Facebook page saying, a ghost, not a ghost.
On the Willmington Town Facebook page.
Which is a closed.
It's a closed group.
It's a closed group. We have tried to get into it. Whoever's in charge of that group, you should let us in. We might have things to add.
One time we went to Willmington.
I'm sure I've driven through Willmington other times. No, I haven't. It was nowhere near anywhere I've ever been.
I had never heard of Willmington, Massachusetts before this.
So the Facebook page, apparently other people started reporting that they had also seen the ghost there in aisle 17 looking at the frozen peas. So it kind of became a thing. And so the Boston Globe did a kind of in-depth article about the fact that this ghost could have been this woman named France B. Hiller, and she was known as the Lady of the Caskets. So she moved to Willmington in 1873 with her husband, and they were a wealthy couple. They lived right on Main Street. And her big claim to fame was that she and her husband were terrified of being buried after they died. She believed in immortality, so it wasn't death that she was afraid of. It was actually the whole thing about being buried underground and all of the things that would happen to her flesh as she was underground, right? The rotting and the stinking and the decaying. And so, I mean, that all seems actually quite reasonable of a thing to be upset about. What do you think?
I get very upset about those kinds of things.
I'm on the cremation list, so a little bit frightened of the idea of being buried as well.
I also don't like cremation. I like nothing to do with death. That's sorry. I don't. I don't like the idea of burials. I hate the idea of cremation. I think it's because my parents, they're so weird. Your
parents are the best.
They are the best, but
I'm going on record saying that Abby's the best.
Abby and
Warren's not bad either.
They're the best, but they're quirky, and my mother is.
Oh yeah, definitely quirky.
And my mother is extremely quirky. And her and my father, when they pass, which I never want to think about, are getting cremated, and they have their plots at the cemetery across the street from my house. And when we'd go walk the dog when I was a kid, my mom would always point out where her spot was in the cemetery for us to
across the street from the house you grew up in?
Yes. Up that, when you're standing in my parents' front yard, there's a hill across the street. There's a giant cemetery up there. Yes.
I'm looking at Amelia with a completely blank face. I'm like absolutely flabbergasted.
I'll take you over there.
I'm fairly certain that I've walked through. Is it like an older cemetery?
It's a very old cemetery.
Okay, yeah.
We're from an old town.
I've walked through there with your mom when we would go out on our Friday walks.
Did she point out where her plaque was going?
No, she didn't.
Well,
I must have been spared that.
That's why I am the way I am.
Did your mom also tell you from a very small age that you better figure out how to do stuff because she wasn't going to be around forever?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Did your mom do that?
Yes, very much.
Yes.
Apparently, Grandma was mean to them.
Well, it rubbed off on her daughters because, yes, growing up, I started doing my own laundry from age 10, and I didn't want to. Here we are.
And that's why we're here doing a ghost hunting podcast.
All right.
I feel like some of this will get edited out and then put at different parts.
Put at different parts. Who knows? Yeah. And for
So-
those of you not picking up, or if you're new to our podcast, which is extremely new, Beth and I are cousins, so you're going to get some.
We are.
Some of our family life in here too.
Our moms are sisters.
Yes.
And so we go back a long way. So anyway, back to France B. Hiller. She was terrified of being buried after death. She didn't want to be all gross under the ground. And she and her husband demanded that they be entombed above ground. So they went through this really elaborate plan. Now, keep in mind, this is in the 1870s, 1880s, and these are numbers from the 1870s and 1880s. So with inflation and all the things like for today and now, I can't even imagine what something like this would cost. But anyway, she had made a $50,000 casket to be buried in. And that casket was going to be placed in a $50,000 sarcophagus.
What year was this, Bob?
So they moved there in 1873,
Okay.
And she lived there a little over 25 years.
Great.
If you've been to the Museum of Fine Arts and you go down where the Egyptians are, there are sarcophagi there. They are very elaborate and awe-inspiring as you're looking at them.
And so, just so you know, because I looked it up, if we were talking, so she spent $100,000 on this, correct?
I'm not done.
Okay, I apologize. But so far we're at $100,000. And in today's money, that is about $2,918,095.24. Approximately.
Approximately.
Thank you, Google.
And so that was for the casket and the sarcophagus, which were going to be placed in a case that ran about $10,000. And that whole case was going to be put in a $100,000 mausoleum that they had built above the ground. So she Hold on. Okay, wait, we're getting another figure from the banker here.
Yes. So that we're up to $210,000. In 1990.
No, in 1890.
Yep. So $210,000 around 1900 would be $6,277,670.83 approximately. So that is how much this woman did not want to be buried underground.
$6 million worth.
Correct.
Anyway, so here she has this $6 million in today's money worth of burial equipment, and she used to like to get in her $22,000 burial dress and lie in her casket just randomly during the day, like would just
sounds healthy.
Yeah, totally reasonable action to take. So her husband died surprisingly in about 1888, and a couple of years later, here she is. She's like a late 50s woman, and she married herself some 22-year-old coach driver.
God bless her.
Right? Like
there you go.
And but the coach driver did a weird thing. Instead of her taking his last name, he agreed to take her last name, which nowadays is not that uncommon.
Not at all.
But back in, like the 1890s, that would have been unheard of.
She is a feminist and a cougar. And I like it.
So they lived together, and she died in 1900, in May of 1900. And there was some speculation on how old she actually was. So I think her niece or something said she was like 62. So, I mean, It wasn't like she was all that old, but...
Well, for the time. Yeah.
So she was buried in her $6 million burial area. But then in 1935... the tomb was leaking so badly that it had to be torn apart and relocated underground. So even though she spent all that money and all that time being terrified of having her body buried underground, she still ended up underground.
There you go.
I don't know what the moral is from that, but I think it's everybody dies.
Everybody dies.
That
is a good one.
Yeah. Everybody dies. So she is reportedly in the market basket now, dressed as an elderly woman. She's wearing Victorian era clothes with an old nightgown. She's got curly gray hair, and she's wearing a sleeping cap.
So, and that is a wildly interesting story. Some of the reports...
If you saw her face, you would not believe that was a wildly interesting story.
It was, and I loved it. Some of the reports I've been hearing, though, and again, this has been all over the news here in Massachusetts, New England, and the country, is that the young, and I say young woman because it's being reported to be a young woman, and it says about ages 19 to 30 is what people are saying. I've been seeing that age range a lot because I am coming up on 30, and I always think I would love to be mistaken for 19. So that's why I always remember that number. So age range 19 to 30. That does not at all mean it couldn't be this woman, though. Because a lot of times when you pass and you come back as a spirit, you come back as a younger version of yourself.
So I can forever be 25.
Yes.
Beautiful.
As you are now.
As I am now.
As you are now.
As I was when Bobby was born. And
there you go.
When I got married, when I bought my house, all those great things.
Yes.
Okay. So we went to the market basket. We decided this was going to be our first ghost hunt. We were like, let's go do it. We brought our cute little EMF reader, and we walked up and down aisle 17.
I would like to point out something else we did that day. We decided...
Would you like to point that out now?
I am pointing it out now.
Okay.
We went out for dinner at a vegetarian restaurant, a vegan restaurant.
We did.
It
was quite good.
It was delicious. For my Vegan Massachusetts Instagram. Follow us online, Vegan Massachusetts on Instagram. But we told the young lady who was our waitress about where we were going, that we were going to do this ghost hunt.